Hello, boys and girls. We are starting our fraction unit, and today we're going to look at the meaning of fractions. We kind of put this under 4.3a, but we feel that we need to go over what fractions are and review them from the third grade before we move on. Okay, so in this Smartboard lessons, it's about fractions. And if we look here, fractions represent any part of a whole relationship. So when I'm looking, there's an entire circle here, but it's divided into two equal parts. And the shaded part is showing, in this case, we're going to look at what part is shaded. So out of here, one piece is shaded, and the whole is in two parts. Here, one piece is shaded, and the whole is in three parts. So this shows 1/2, this shows 1/3, and this one piece is shaded out of 4, which shows 1/4. So a fractions show a part to a whole where the part's being shaded, and the whole is how many times it's been, is the whole piece. Below are some examples of how fractions are used with food. Move the plates to show the fraction amount. So they have if I was to put this sandwich together, I would have whole sandwich. If I just talk about one sandwich, I would have 1/2 of the sandwich, one piece out of 2. Here they took an apple, and it is in 4 equal parts. So one of those pieces would represent 1/4 of the apple. Here we have a pie, and it's in 6 equal parts. And if I was talking about one piece, the whole is the whole entire pie, which is 6 parts. It's 1 out of 6. See, the last number in our fraction, that denominator tells you how many pieces make that whole. 6 pieces made the whole. I'm talking about one of the pieces, 1/6. And here they have a pizza in 8 equal parts, and so one piece would be one piece out of 8. So this pizza is cut into 8s. Okay. Here they want us to kind of look at fractions and whole. What's a fraction or not? Sort the shapes in the right box. So if nothing has been divided up, we're going to call that a whole. Okay? Even though this is shaded a whole, this one right here, we know they put it in 2 parts so I can see a fraction. And sometimes on the computer it doesn't make them exactly perfect, equal parts, but we try to get close. This is showing 2 parts of a whole. This one is showing parts of a whole. Notice that they've taken and put it into 4s, and then each rectangle they've put into 2 parts. This is a whole. Oh, this is showing fractional parts. Do you see that? Even though all of it's shaded in, we can see that they have put it into fractional parts. Here they just have the whole thing. It's not in any special part. Here's the whole thing, not in any special part. And this is showing fractional parts, 1 out of 3. So let's check that. We had 4 that were whole, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that were not. Yay, it looks like we did good. Okay. Oh, also you can go back and rewind this video if you have any questions on anything you don't understand. Now we're going to look at the parts of a fraction, okay? The top part, the lower part. Now, if you've been listening to me, we've been saying a fraction is a part to a whole. The part are the number of pieces that we're talking about. The denominator, the whole, the bottom number is how many pieces, equal parts, are put together to make the whole. So if I looked at this like a pie, I would have a pie in 5 equal pieces, and I'm talking about 3 of those pieces. So, to put a fraction bar, that's this right here. It's the bar that separates. The numerator is the top part, and the denominator is the bottom part. After the labels are placed, pull the blue arrow to check the labels. Okay, so We put the labels on. We're going to pull this blue arrow and see, did we get the right answers? Do those line up? Yes. So hopefully you watched the numerator and the denominator video, numerator never under. So that's how you can remember that the numerator's on top. NU stands for never under. Denominator stands for down. It's always the bottom part of the fraction. Okay, just some ways to remember the numerator and the denominator. In here, the thing that you do is you take your fraction, 3/4, and you write what the numerator is. Remember, the numerator is never under, denominator's never below. So never under is the 3, the denominator is 4. And what I like to have students say every time we do this is 3 is the number of pieces, 4 make the whole. 5 is the number of pieces we're talking about. 9 pieces make the whole. 7, 11. 15 is never under. 27 makes the whole. 3 and 8. Pause the video. You finish the rest and come back and check. Okay, I hope, take a minute and look at your answers. I hope that you came up with the same things that I did. Oh, yeah, this is a pull thing too, but I do know those are correct, so I'm not going to mess with that. Okay, continue. Oh, and here are those answers again. Maybe you can see them a little better. You can also pause this video and check your work if you wrote those down. Okay. In this last one, we use recipes. A lot of times in real world, we're using cooking to do with fractions. I know that all of you have seen your parents measuring cups, and in the classroom we have measuring cups hanging up. So in this one, we're going to bake a cake. And we need 4/9 cups of flour. So we have to show what 4/9 looks like. Now notice, these pieces don't look like they're in equal parts on that cup, but notice as the cup gets at the top, it's wider, and at the bottom it's more narrow. And if it's more narrow, it's going to be a little bit taller than the top parts. So they're actually in equal parts if you were to really pull it apart. It's just that it's bigger on the top, it's wider on the top, and more narrow on the bottom. So on the bottom, it's going to be a little bit taller, and on the top, it's going to be a little bit more, the liquid and the stuff you put in would be thinner to make an equal part. So here, 4/9, that would be 4, and maybe let me use a blue, we can see it better, out of 9. Sugar would be 2 pieces out of 3. Remember, we're saying the whole is in 3 equal parts, 2 of the parts. So 2/3, a 1/2 teaspoon of liqueur. That's like coffee flavor. This cake's going to be good. It's going to have some coffee flavor in it. So they took a spoon and they put it into 2 equal parts, and we only need 1/2 of that spoon. 2/9 cup of melted butter. So that would be 2 pieces out of 9 equal parts. And the cool thing about measuring cups at home is they are measured for you, and they kind of show you on the sides. So kind of like this does. And you'll notice if you have measuring cups that they get wider at the top, that it gets narrower, the equal parts. Mascarpone is a cheese. It's a fancy cheese. It's really yummy. 3 pieces out of 10. 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces out of 8. And unsweetened cocoa, it doesn't show me, and I don't know why that's not working. Oh, there it is, 1/9. 1 out of 9. And when we're finished, and you mix all of this stuff and you do all the recipe right, they show that we have a cake. Okay, so remember, a fraction is a part to a whole. The numerator tells you how many pieces we're talking about, or they're asking about. The denominator tells you how many pieces make the whole. Okay, and when we think about it, the numerator, think about the top number. As the numerator increases, the denominator remains the same. The portion becomes larger. So if I show you that if I have 3 equal pieces, right here, if my denominator is the same, so this is 1 out of 3. Notice, think about a pie. If I have 1/3 of a pie, I just have one of those equal pieces. Think about if my numerator increases. Now I have 2 out of 3, but my denominator is staying the same. My whole is still cut into 3, but notice that 2 pieces out of 3 of the pie would be more, okay? And notice as my numerator is increasing, but my denominator is staying the same, we could compare that really easy. This would be 3 out of 3. So 3 pieces out of 3 is the whole pie. So notice as the numerator increases and the denominator remains the same, these portions become larger. So if the denominator is the same, all you have to do is look at the numerator, and the bigger the piece on the top, the larger the fraction. As the denominator increases and the numerator remains the same, the portion becomes smaller. Notice here we have 3 pieces, let's just call these cakes, 3 cakes. Those are those sheet cakes. They're kind of square, but you can make more of them. As the denominator increases, so my denominator is going to change. And the numerator is the same. So if I shade in 1 here, 1 piece, that's 1 piece out of 2. That's quite a bit of that cake, isn't it? Half of that cake, 1/2. Now watch here. Watch what happens as I take that and I now change the denominator and put it into 3 pieces, but I still only take 1. Would I rather have a half of a cake or just a third of a cake? Notice it's getting, as the denominator increases, it's putting it into smaller parts. And if I'm talking about the same piece, the piece is going to get smaller. Here, if you can notice, putting that sheet cake into 4 equal parts and 1 out of 4. Notice how my denominator got bigger, the pieces got smaller. Okay, so that's what that basically is saying right there. So you can think about fractions. The more times it's been divided up, the smaller the individual pieces they're going to have. Okay. Sandra needs to mix 1/4 cup of baking soda, 2/4 cups of oil, and 3/4 cups of flour. Which fraction is larger and why? Okay, so if we look at this, notice what do we know about the fractions here? She needs 1/4 cup of soda. So I like to write this next to him, 1/4, and I can't really see it that well, but it looks like that could be 1/4. It's kind of hard to see on this. 2/4 cups of oil. 2/4 is going to be right here, and 3/4 cups of flour. Notice my denominator is the same. So here, all we have to do is look at the numerators, and which one is more is 3/4. So 3 out of 4 is more than 2 pieces out of 4 and 1 piece of 4. So then in this case, our answer would be, which fraction is larger? 3/4. So go back and rewatch this video anytime you need a refresher on fractions. Be remembering what the numerator tells you and what the denominator tells you. And it takes time. The more we see fractions, the more we look at them, the easier they will get.